Hi, I'm Mark Graben. Welcome to the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. Today, we are doing a preview of our upcoming webinar. It's going to be presented October 2nd at 1 o'clock Eastern. It is titled Embedding Change Management into Your Continuous Improvement Initiatives. So to register for that, you can go to kainexus.com/webinars. You can look for a link in the description or the show notes. And if you're listening or watching this preview after October 2nd, you can get the recording of the webinar kind of that same way. Again, kainexus.com/webinars, or look for this specific link. Now, today we are joined by the presenter of that webinar, Melissa Sherman, to do some introductions and a preview. Melissa, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for the invite, Mark. I'm totally excited about the upcoming webinar in October.
Yeah, it's a topic a lot of people are interested in. When we ask our webinar audience and our customers what topics are they interested in, change management comes up really frequently as a topic, and there's always new things to learn. I know you're going to be sharing a lot of great ideas in the session. But first off, in terms of introductions, on October 2nd, I'll read your bio. I'll share, some personal connections of how I know you from the Michigan Lean Consortium. But, in the preview, we like to let the presenter kind of in your own words, tell us about you and your background.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Again, Melissa Sherman, live in the west side of West Michigan, so right along Lake Shore of the lake, beautiful area. I've actually been involved in studying not only continuous improvement, but really change management since probably 1988, 89 or so. So a long background in that from that perspective. Work for a utility company, and that's what I do on a daily basis, right? I'm considered a senior quality improvement consultant, so I'm helping our business partners improve processes on a daily basis and making sure to bring that change management into it so that we can be sustainable in those efforts. And then lastly, I also teach online.
Mm-hmm.
I teach campus classes, not college classes. Not many really know that from me. So to do something like this is just what I enjoy.
No, well, good. Well, it's great that you have the opportunity to teach our audience some things. And as a bit of a preview of the topic, and again, the formal title is Embedding Change Management into Your Continuous Improvement Initiatives. I guess maybe one high-level question is, why is change management such an important topic and discipline for you?
Yeah, the main reason is because there's more to change management than communication.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when you're in an organization, they say, "Oh, it's just a communication out to the coworkers." I'm like, it's a little bit more than that, right? It's not just an email. It's not just a blog. It's not just a phone call or a Teams meeting. It's really all of those forms. So it's important to me that you take it one step further, though, and it's not just a communication. You're looking at those stakeholders, specifically as we talk continuous improvement, of who's being affected by that change, the upstream, the downstream, the back and forth, not just in the silo where you're attempting to do problem solving, but looking in that broader perspective. So I really try to bring that in and hone in on that part of change management.
And part of what I hear you saying is that this communication or interaction shouldn't be just a one-way street, not a
Absolutely.
one-time communication.
Well, it's not a one-time communication and it's not a one-way communication.
Yeah.
For example, an item that is quite common in the area of work that I do is we have read-in signs. So a process is changed, a standard is changed, and they send out a read-in sign, and there's no way for that individual to communicate back of understanding or not understanding. There's the assumption that if they click the button, they agree and understand. So I really try to broaden that, right, and say, hey, we need to have some face-to-face, some two-way communication. So there's feedback and understanding, not only by those that are presenting and sharing, but those that are receiving.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gap that we have.
I guess the click and sign demonstrates they know how to click and sign.
Absolutely.
And maybe more, but yeah, not necessarily. Yeah.
Yep.
And And then it's probably fair to say when you talk about embedding change management, that you don't view change management as something to tack on after the fact, like
That is
after a decision has been made.
That is correct, right? So as I look at my day to day and assisting a team, and we're going to dive into problem solving, the first thing I say is, where's the process map? Who are we affecting? So we can bring those stakeholders in, and then bring in, again, right, embedding that change into it so that you've got your change champions and you've got your advocates to help that as you walk through the entire process. What you'll see in my preview and in my webinars, that I relate PDCA to the steps of change management and how they can correlate, and you can move that process together systematically versus, oh, I do this, oh, and then, oh yeah, right, we're going to implement tomorrow, we need to do change management. Well, that's too late.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely agree. Or when people say, well, now we need to gain buy-in. I'm like, well, the best time to gain buy-in is really at the beginning of whether you call it a problem-solving cycle, a PDSA process and cycles. I think climb up on a soapbox for a minute. It's not my webinar, but one thing I would add is, you need to gain buy-in or alignment, even just on the existence of the problem and the framing of the problem. Not just
well,
getting
not even buy-in. I would just say trust and understanding,
better.
right?
Yes, that's even better. Yes.
By bringing in the right people at the right time. Not everybody, right? So if you're affecting an engineering group, you're not going to bring every engineer in up front, but you're going to understand where each engineer is on that change curve so that you can build your outcome, your solutions, and your way of sharing, standardize and share, so that you can bring them along on that journey earlier than later.
Yeah. And when you use language like change curve or journey, I think that helps emphasize, change is a process. It's not just an instantaneous flipping of a light switch, right?
Absolutely. A lot of times when I'm doing training within the corporation, and we get to change, and people are like, "Oh, what's change?" And I apologize, I don't have all of the phases right in front of me in the top of my mind, but I like to use the analogy of when we hit COVID, right? The very first thing of change management is denial. That's the first area you're going to hit. And I think many, if not all, were really in that denial phase.
Yeah.
And then we eventually worked our way through, and some of us might made it all the way to the end. Some might still be in a denial, right? Especially if they lost a loved one or a friend. So I like to use that example because it hits everybody, no matter where you are in the country, the world, what utility you work in, what industry you work in. It's just a great example to understand how we all move through a change curve.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the webinar. I know what you're going to share from your experience and your knowledge, Melissa, is going to be really helpful. So again, I encourage people to tune in for the full webinar. Again, that's going to be held October 2nd, 1 o'clock Eastern. We hope you'll register. You'll be able to ask questions. We always have a robust Q&A session, and happy to have you participate in that. So again, embedding change management into your continuous improvement initiatives by Melissa Sherman. You can go to kainexus.com/webinars or look for a link in the video description or the podcast show notes. Melissa, thanks in advance for the webinar, and thanks for giving us an intro and a preview today.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.